You know, I often tell folks when they meet a woman that I married that person. Being the pleasant person was the foundation of Jay Leno's success. Family values, clean jokes, and a devoted husband. For 40 years, however, a rumor followed him. An affair that had the potential to ruin everything. Leno consistently rejected it outright. He is now 75 years old, and rewriting his story to care for his wife who has dementia. Part of the rumor was accurate. He acknowledges that his memoir will contain shocking information for Hollywood. Someone who meant more to him than anyone realized is mentioned in the confession. The most beloved host in America has a $1 million secret. On April 28, 1950, Jay Leno was born in New Rochelle, New York. There were two distinct sounds coming from his house. Scottish-born Catherine, his mother, frequently sung lullabies with a strong accent. In an attempt to complete deals, his father, Angelo, who worked in insurance, was constantly talking quickly. At the age of 11, Catherine had traveled alone to America. She had promised herself that her children would learn to work hard, even if she didn't speak English when she first arrived. To reach his sales target, Angelo once traveled through 3 states in a single day. Stories and melodies filled their home at night. Young Jay listened intently while seated at the table. He would recite his father's sales spiel to the local youngsters, having learned it by heart by the time he was 7 years old. He even made a few nickels by using fictitious insurance tables. He discovered early on that you could make money by both being witty and working hard. Additionally, he made the decision that he would never survive on a single paycheck. Jay struggled in school. He was considered slow by his teachers. He struggled with reading and frequently mispronounced words. He had dyslexia, but he was unaware of it at the time. He had trouble with fundamental phonics in 1st grade. He had to repeat the entire year in 5th and 8th grade. When a guidance counselor advised him to quit in 1968, Jay joked instead of sobbing. He reversed all the letters and mimicked the man's solemn tone. Even though he received detention and his classmates laughed, it stoked his passion. He started penning jokes every night. In an attempt to stimulate his brain, he filled full notebooks and made himself read them backward. He played a phony weather report warning of teacher layoffs, while sneaking into the school's announcement booth when he was 17. He received a 3-day suspension. However, Jay recognized that even his reading difficulty might be used as a comedic device as the prank became a school legend. Jay started working at Tony's Pizza in Andover when he was 14 years old, earning $125 per hour. He delivered pizzas in a beat-up Dodge, as he was not permitted to use his dad's gleaming Buick. Each delivery had to be made in less than 20 minutes. In order to find out if Jay had arrived yet, he began calling the customers first while posing as a worried father. They would then be at the door, waiting. Time was saved. He rehearsed his punchlines in the rearview mirror while he was driving. On a pizza grease-stained clipboard, he graded each joke. He brought 2 pizzas to a gathering at a college in February 1966, amid a snowfall. On stage, he requested to trade them for 5 minutes. He made jokes about snow chains and anchovies. "Please pardon me. Could you please give me the bathroom key? Yes, it is here. This large ring has it. Don't try to steal it either." His first paid comic gig brought in $22 in tips. He was ordered to cease tampering with the menu by Tony, who was not pleased. The comic with the pelican face, Leno. But Jay remembered the scene. Jay participated in a local YMCA talent contest in 1964 as well. He attempted to emulate Rodney Dangerfield, his idol. To replicate Rodney's sweaty appearance, he even applied cold cream to his face. However, the cream gave him a clown-like appearance. When he was illuminated by a stage light, the audience began jeering, because they believed he was making fun of Rodney. Jay broke the sound system and knocked over the microphone as he fled the stage in a panic. He had to repay his brother Patrick for the $5 had borrowed to get in. He played the sound of the alcohol exactly 47 times that night. He promised himself that he would only proceed if he could generate his own content. Jay was accepted to Boston's Emerson College in 1969. Only because the creator felt guilty about his dyslexia did they welcome him. He did, however, perform in front of 2,800 people in Denver on October 6, 1979. He made the decision to remain in comedy for the rest of his life after the concert sold out. Mavis married Jay on November 3, 1980. They chose the date to coincide with the anniversary of his parents' marriage. The tiny wedding took place at a friend's house. Although they had begun dating in January 1976, it wasn't love at first sight. Mavis's sole purpose for attending the club was to network for her writing career. However, she praised Jay's appearance and called him beautiful. Rather than romance, loyalty was the foundation of their marriage. Their belief was to support one another during both good times and bad. That proved to be crucial, particularly after Mavis was given a dementia diagnosis in 2024. When Jay joined Johnny Carson on The Tonight Show as a regular guest host in 1986, his career truly took off. But he was cautious. In private, he spoke with NBC executives and worked behind the scenes to become the next host, while pretending he wasn't attempting to replace Carson. This strategy was successful. Many people felt betrayed by what happened in Hollywood on May 25, 1992. The Tonight Show was taken up by Jay Leno. But everyone in the industry was taken aback by how he obtained the position. It was widely anticipated that David Letterman would be the following host. Johnny Carson, who had dominated late-night television for decades, even wanted Letterman to succeed him. Indeed, Carson frequently sent Letterman monologue gags in his last years. However, NBC took a different approach. Leno, who had been Carson's frequent guest host, received it. Carson's dismay was obvious. In his last episodes, he made no reference to Leno. He even made 2 appearances on Letterman's CBS show later, which many saw as a clear message. Letterman felt a great sense of betrayal. He departed NBC in June 1993 to launch his own program on CBS. People inside the company referred to that entire changeover as a loyalty test, since it was so harsh. Leno had to choose a side, and many believed he betrayed those who supported him. It changed his reputation as someone who would do whatever it necessary, even if it meant destroying relationships. It wasn't a good debut night for Leno as host. On May 25, 1992, his first episode aired, and it was a complete failure. Numerous famous people who adored Johnny Carson declined to attend. Leno was forced to call agencies and practically beg them to send visitors. The ratings were horrible. Behind the scenes, things were worse, and NBC panicked. Helen Kushnick, Leno's longtime manager, has begun covertly banning celebrities who appeared on other shows, such as Arsenio Hall. They offered him an option. The show will be lost if Helen is fired. She was harming his career, they said. Before everything really started, that initial catastrophe almost put an end to everything. By 1993, Jay Leno had taken a different route and started making jokes about O.J. Simpson. Leno made everything into a comedy, including the murder case and the courtroom drama. He joked about O.J. more than he did about anyone else, including Martha Stewart and Michael Jackson. Using individuals disguised like Judge Lance Ito, he produced an odd dance performance known as the Dancing Itos. He even used the Gilligan's Island tune to mock the murder case. David Letterman said the situation was too serious to partake in those jokes. Leno, on the other hand, went all out, transforming sadness into nightly laughter. For others, it was excessive. They claimed that by turning death into a joke, he had gone too far. However, the ratings increased. There was a cost to that achievement. Late-night humor has turned vicious, according to critics. Unexpectedly, Leno's reputation was saved in July 1995. Hugh Grant's relationship with Divine Brown, a prostitute, led to his incarceration. The scandal was massive. Grant, however, continued to appear on The Tonight Show. He left by himself on July 10. No spin doctors, no handlers. What the hell were you thinking? Leno asked him directly, and Grant didn't duck the subject. He acknowledged that he made a grave error that evening. The show received extremely high ratings. Later, Leno said to his wife that he felt guilty for making fun of Grant's embarrassment, but it was successful. The honesty was well received. Leno had already made a difficult decision in September 1992, just a few months prior. The woman who had aided his ascent for 17 years, Helen Kushnick, was sacked. NBC made him do it. Because she had been blackballing stars, keeping her became too risky. She filed a lawsuit as soon as she left. It was an ugly brawl. However, by 1999, Leno's show was outperforming Letterman in terms of ratings, drawing in 5 million viewers per night. The world saw how far Leno would go to maintain his position of power after that firing. NBC made a significant statement in 2004. In 2009, they predicted that Conan O'Brien will take over The Tonight Show. Although it appeared to be a non-violent approach, Leno was actually preparing something else. Leno was negotiating with NBC for a new show at 1000 p.m., while insisting to everyone that he backed Conan. Viewers would be drawn away from his show because it would air directly before Conan's. People were in disbelief. He appeared to be trying to sabotage Conan's chances by grinning in public. This action violated an unwritten television guideline. It seemed cunning. Additionally, it eliminated a third of NBC's primetime schedule. The whole TV globe was horrified by something. Many people thought Leno's farewell on May 29, 2009, was genuine. On camera, he sobbed and declared himself the luckiest man alive. However, he returned with the Jay Leno program in September 2009, just 4 months later. His farewell was merely an action. More than 18 million people watched that first night back. The illusion, however, was shattered. According to his detractors, Leno feigned emotion to win sympathy before crushing his successor. Then things became worse. NBC's confidential emails were hacked in January 2010. Leno should be moved back to 11:35 p.m., according to executives, and force Conan to wake up at 12:05 a.m. It was a serious setback. Leno's team even made fun of Conan in the emails, calling him unfunny. Jeff Zucker, one of the executives, threatened to fire Conan for 2 years if he didn't agree. This resulted in Conan's well-known letter to the people of Earth, in which he denied it and specifically blamed Leno. "I had a shitty lead-in," Conan said to his staff, "and I know how hard I worked for this. It was promised to me." NBC ended up paying millions to settle the mess, and it split the comedy world down the middle. Something strange came out during this storm. It became a joke on other shows when Leno disclosed in a 2014 interview that all 5 of the women he had lived with, including his wife Mavis, were born on September 5th. He even claimed to be able to sense people with that birthday, and that he asked Mavis about it as soon as they met. People began to wonder if Lowe's obsession with control also permeated his personal life. A darker side of comedy, where stealing lines was more common than fans realized, was revealed when Leno sued Judith Brown, a book publisher, for stealing his jokes back in 2006. The case settled in 2008, but as it was being settled, other comedians accused Leno of stealing jokes himself. After all the drama, Leno returned to The Tonight Show in March 2010 after a legal battle that cost roughly $1 million and caused people to doubt his nice guy persona. Conan himself would later face a similar lawsuit in 2015, and he settled in 2019. Leno claimed he wanted to protect joke writing as an art, but not everyone agreed. However, things had changed by July 2010, when his average viewership fell from 537 million to roughly 4.4 million. The audience also grew older, with the median age rising to 56, more than 10 years older than Conan's audience. Leno's viewership among the crucial 18 to 49 age group fell from 1.5 to 1.15, but he was still ahead of Letterman. After leaving late at night for good, Leno focused entirely on cars, launching Jay Leno's Garage and showcasing his incredible collection of 180 cars and 160 motorcycles, all kept close to the Burbank airport. In his last week in February 2014, he received 4.99 million viewers, his highest numbers since 2010, but no one could prove that he ever acknowledged feeling out of touch. There was no evidence of a significant garage fire in 2012, but on November 12, 2022, Leno was working on a 1907 steam car when gasoline sprayed on his face and caught fire, causing second and third-degree burns on roughly 7% of his body. He spent 10 days in the hospital receiving oxygen therapy and skin grafts. Leno returned to the stage 2 weeks after the fire, performing at the Comedy and Magic Club in California in November 2022. He made a joke about the burns, stating, "We got 2 shows tonight, regular and extra crispy." The performance sold out. People were astounded by his quick recovery. He continued to perform stand-up even during his years on The Tonight Show. In 2015, Leno started a new chapter as a recurring character on Last Man Standing, where he played a mechanic named Joe Leonard. Off-camera, he and Tim Allen had a light-hearted rivalry, constantly trying to outdo each other by driving more stylish vintage cars to the set. Fans continued to enjoy his self-mocking jokes and his ability to turn pain into punchlines. On November 12, 2022, Jay Leno was in his Burbank garage, working on a very old car from 1907, a steam-powered car made by White Motor Company. According to their co-star, Nancy Travis, it became a daily challenge, and Tim Allen even shared pictures of their car battles online. Leno's passion for cars was evident in everything he did, even on set. He told a friend to blow air through it while he was lying underneath it, trying to clear a clogged fuel line. But then the gasoline shot out, and a second later the pilot light set it on fire. Before he could move, the flames struck Jay's face, causing him to sustain burns on 7% of his body, including his hands, chest, and most importantly, his face. A few days after leaving the hospital, Jay returned to the stage and announced to the audience, "We got 2 shows tonight, regular and extra crispy." The doctor said that the burns on his face were third-degree, and they even used pieces of skin from human cadavers to help him heal. He spent 10 days in the Grossman Burn Center, receiving special oxygen treatments every day. Everyone laughed, but his pain persisted. Then, 2 months later, on January 17, 2023, Jay, 72, was riding a 1940 Indian motorcycle near his garage when he noticed that the bike was leaking gas. In an attempt to get there more quickly, he decided to cut through a parking lot, but someone had stretched a wire across the lot. He was thrown off the bike after the wire, which was not clearly marked, struck him in the neck like a clothesline, breaking his collarbone, cracking 2 ribs, and breaking both kneecaps. He had to have shoulder surgery and put a halt to his comedy shows. But Jay remained humorous about it, saying, "A 72-year-old man riding an 83-year-old motorcycle. What might go wrong?" It didn't end there. On November 15, 2024, Jay was in Pittsburgh and decided to walk to a restaurant before his show. The road was lengthy, roughly a mile and a half, so he attempted to take a shortcut down a hill, which didn't seem particularly steep, but he slipped on some rocks halfway down. Even though he broke his wrist, lost a fingernail, and had an eye so swollen and bruised that he had to wear an eye patch, he still showed up and performed that same night. He later joked, "The great thing about this age is you don't learn from your mistakes." He had fallen 60 feet. Jay's garage is filled with old machines, over 180 cars, and 160 motorcycles, many of which are unrestored and dangerous to drive. He once acknowledged that he rode and worked on them because it made him feel alive. All of these accidents made people wonder if Jay was intentionally chasing danger. When he recovered from one injury, he immediately returned to it, following the 2022 fire. He was back in the garage in no time. Following the 2023 motorcycle accident, he continued to go full speed. And even after the 2024 fall, he continued to walk on stage, raising concerns among those around him that Jay wasn't simply unlucky. These accidents also began to affect his career. Following the fire in 2022, he had to postpone a major event in Las Vegas due to what they described as a serious medical emergency. Following the motorcycle crash, his stand-up shows had to be paused once more. The hill fall occurred just before another show in Pittsburgh, but he continued to perform. He may be addicted to the rush. He and his wife Mavis never had children, which is another side of Jay's story that many people are unaware of. Jay tries to act like everything is fine, but those close to him know he's pushing his body too far. His determination to keep performing, even when he's hurt, is both inspiring and frightening. When she was 7 or 8 years old, Mavis told her own mother that she would never marry or have children, because she thought that was how women were trapped. However, in January 1976, she met Jay at the Comedy Store, where he was performing that night, and she was in the front row. They struck up a conversation. He once remarked, "My wife and I have been married for 32 years, and Jay fully understood her decision to forego having children. We don't have children, but we do have a cat." Mavis was anything but typical though, as she spearheaded a big campaign against the Taliban in 1999 and, along with Jay, contributed $100,000 to support Afghan women as part of the feminist majority organization. Their marriage wasn't always easy, but Mavis was fearless, speaking in Congress, hosting events with celebrities, and even persuading a major oil company to cancel a $8 billion pipeline project in Afghanistan. She called it "Stop Gender Apartheid in Afghanistan." According to NPR, Jay had an almost pathological focus on his comedy work, which kept him successful but also kept him away from home. Jay's work habits were intense. He worked non-stop while hosting The Tonight Show, which brought in up to $255 million annually, and he even hid in closets at NBC to listen in on private discussions about who would host after him. Then everything changed in April 2024, when Jay went to court to request legal control over Mavis's finances, after she had been exhibiting symptoms of dementia for years and received a heartbreaking Alzheimer's diagnosis. Mavis didn't always recognize Jay, and she couldn't remember when she was born. The judge gave Jay complete authority and commended him for the care he was providing, even saying their lawyer said Mavis was in the best hands. In April 2025, Jay talked about how much he still enjoyed spending time with her, cooking dinner, watching TV, and playing memory games. But that behind the scenes, it's really difficult. He carries her to the bathroom, helps her eat, and stays by her side all day. He doesn't enjoy the tasks, but he feels proud that he's the one doing them. He even told her once that they had dinner with Barack Obama at the White House, and she didn't believe him. He cried once after feeding her and said it haunts him. When Jay's wife Mavis was born on September 5th, he laughed when she told him her birthday and said, "Ah, nothing." Later, astrology enthusiasts learned that Jay's moon sign is at 13, Virgo, and that women born on September 5th have their sun sign at the same location. Jay also revealed another odd detail. He once lived with 5 women, all of whom were born on September 5th. He didn't plan it, it just happened. Jay also talked about David Letterman in April 2025. They had been at odds over The Tonight Show for years, but Jay said he would like to meet him again. He related a story about how, following Dave's heart attack in 2000, he was told not to mention it on TV, and that newspapers attacked him when he remained silent. Some people now say it's not just chance, they call it a cosmic match. Jay, who is 75 years old, is writing a memoir, and he said there will be surprises in it. One headline said, "The only person who didn't wish Dave well was Leno." Jay claimed that the incident still hurts him, and he once surprised Letterman at his Malibu home. But he said it was one of the most awkward days of his life. Big publishers are battling for the rights, and insiders believe it could be one of the most shocking celebrity books in years. He denied the rumor for years, but now he says it is partially true. He did not elaborate, but he hinted that there is a lot fans don't know. The book is scheduled to be released at the end of 2025, around his 75th birthday.